Hi, everybody. I'm Olivia Scott, the creator of Freedom at the Mat. Thank you so much for joining me this Mother's Day weekend. I hope you're having a wonderful time celebrating your womanhood. If you are a mother, may God be with you and your children. If you're a grandmother, may God be with you. And just all women throughout the world. You know, we give so much birth and so much life to everything that we touch. Have a beautiful weekend. So you all know that Freedom at the Mat is really for women who need a moment. We got a couple guys to try to sneak in here, but it's still for women, right? In this life, we hear so many negative stories about teen moms, and we rarely hear stories of those who have triumphed and beaten the odds. I have no greater joy than celebrating women that I'm in awe of. And today, of course, is no exception. Today, I am joined by a wonderful woman by the name of Theresa Diane Gillespie Isom. She happens to be running for Olive Branch, Mississippi's Alderman seat, Ward 2. We'll come back to that later on. But she's also been a single mother for over 40 years. And after hearing her story, I was absolutely smitten with her. But I also was really curious about how she was able to lead the life that she's led, given that she was a single mother. So, Theresa, are you here with us?
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much. Happy Mother's Day to you. You look beautiful. I'm sure you're going to be treated very well
Thank
by your
you.
family. You're welcome. So, Lady Theresa, will you please tell us a little bit about your upbringing? I know that you're from the 901, just like me, but tell us about how you were raised and what your child life was like.
Okay, well, I came from a two-parent home, a mom and a dad, and I had sister and two brothers. And I guess I was one that wanted to make sure that everybody was okay. So I was a good student in school. I was the one the teachers always placed at the desk to take the names that they had to go out of the classroom because they counted on me to do the right thing. And I guess when I went on to high school, I was junior high football queen and I was Miss Freshman. I was Miss, yes, best dress. I was a debutante. And I just had a good life, I felt like, growing up as a child.
Great. And then, girl interrupted. Pretty girl interrupted, right? You or pretty, or however you want to look at it, right? Because I don't know if it was an interruption, it was the life that God had for you, your particular life.
Exactly.
So we know that teen moms are often maligned. Back in the day in which you had your son, I'm sure you had some ridicule. You got pregnant at 19 years old. You had a beautiful baby boy. How did you feel when you got pregnant? What did your family say?
Well, I was told by one family member that I had destroyed my life and I would not be anything. So that was kind of disappointing and hurtful. But I said I was not going to let that be true. So I stepped out and made sure that whenever somebody says something negative to me, I want to find a way to make sure that that does not become my life. When I had my child, then I said I had to get out and make a life for both of us, that it would be positive and that we would have a very fruitful and financially stable life. I was in college and I decided, I dropped out of college and went to LPN school so that I would be able to start my life with a 1 year, certificate diploma as opposed to achieving my BS degree at that time. And from there, it really helped me because as a nurse, my income actually was unlimited because of all the opportunities that I had where I could go and work.
Now, what about childcare?
Such a blessing.
What about
Child
childcare?
care, yes. My mother died when my son was 4 years old. I had just graduated from nursing school when she passed away. He was, and so I didn't really have childcare that much to help me. My mother's mother, she
Okay.
was there when I did have to work some shifts that I couldn't, have him there with me and things like that. So she would be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies at the daycare centers, because they said you are trying to do something with your life, you just bring them whatever shift that you're going to work. So if I had to work 3 to 11, the lady at the daycare said, bring him on. And she would take him to
Mm-hmm.
church with her or whatever I needed help with. As I went back to school to get my associate degree as an RN, then he was about 7 years old at that time. Again, in order for me to go to school, I had to work 11 to 7. So during the daytime, I was going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I didn't have childcare at that particular time. So I took him to the hospital with me, and he would go and sleep in the waiting room so that I would be able to continue on. We go home, get dressed, he go to school, and mom go to school.
That's an incredible amount of determination. And I just want to honor you because not every woman who has a child or children feels as if she can go on and create a life for herself. I believe that many women, we feel
Mm,
as if we have to look to a man to provide for us. So this is really pretty remarkable to me that you just said, okay, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to bring my kid with me. And God blessed you in that process of providing angels along the way.
right.
Fortitude. You did not get it by the doctor, like you sleeping with the doctor and you getting in. You worked for this. You weren't asking the doctor to cash app you money to give her your tuition application. No, that was none of that.
Never.
Right? You were doing the work. You were doing the work. Right? So I want you to tell me. So
Yes.
you defied the odds because you just didn't go back and get an associate's degree, an LPN, an RN. But I also understand that you got 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. Can you tell me
Right.
how you did that
Hmm.
as a single mother? How did you do that?
Just being determined. Because
Okay.
I had always in my life said that the child was supposed to exceed whatever their parents were able to do. And I wanted to be a role model for my son. So I did not want him not to achieve his degrees because I had not gone, to school and gotten mine. So I went back at the point that he was in high school and got my first BS degree because as a nurse, once you had your associate degree, you were fine. But that was not for me and for my child. So I
Mhm.
got the BS degree. He was in college working on his BS. So as
Mhm.
he continued on, got his degree, I said, well, he's got to go a step further. So I went back to school and got my master's degree so that I would make sure that he had to achieve more than I had to do.
And
The
did he
field
do that?
of nursing, he went on EDS. So he has an educational specialist post degree past his master's degree. And he has all of his classes to get his doctorate. So he
What?
just needs to do his, yes. So I am so proud of him and that I inspired him to keep moving on because
Yeah.
now he says that to his children, you got
Yeah.
to do better than dad has done. So it's
Absolutely.
just a thing, that you don't want to just settle. I told him, though, I said, when I got my master's, and he said, well, Mama, let's go to school and get our PhDs together. I said, I'm going to let you go and do that one yourself. I told him because for me, I was already, a chief nursing officer. So it wasn't something that I necessarily needed to reach the top. I had already reached the top of my career. Yes.
I want to talk about that. So I understand from what I know about you that you have had a significant influence on other young women through your work, through being director of nursing, being, head of nursing in various aspects. When you have encountered young
Chief
women,
nursing officer.
Okay, get me right, get me together. So tell me, what is it that you find that many young women struggle with in terms of barriers to living their best lives? Because you are an exception in the fact that you had a young child and you had family members like many of us. My mother was one who had a kid at 16 and was put on the mourner's bench in Memphis, Tennessee, like really shamed, kind of like a Salem witch. I know that to be true. Right? It was really a
Right.
horrible thing in the day. So you pushed through that formidable eye and you said, what? I actually am going to be something. But when you've encountered other young women, what do you find the biggest detriment or the biggest threat to their success is?
Well, as the director of the nursing school, many of my nursing students would come in, and it wasn't a lack of intellect. It was the problem that they had a boyfriend that did not want them to succeed. And they could not pull themselves away in doing their classwork. I would often tell them, come on and just stay after school with me. I will be here for you. I will help you. No, Miss Isom, I gotta go. So it was often their relationships that they had that they did not want to lose that, as opposed to looking ahead to see what it is in life that they could be and that he would still be there for them. And that was the biggest struggle that I often had with my nurses that I would have that I was trying to achieve.
And so the way I interpret that is the look for love externally was more valuable to them than self validation and them loving themselves.
Exactly. Because, you know, like I would tell them, it's only 1 year. And if you achieve this 1 year, then your children and so much better. And many of them would take my advice and they would do that. But then you would have, a few on the other side that just could not pull away. And it wasn't that their aspiration for where they would see themselves down the road as opposed to where I am right now.
Got it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, final couple questions for you. How hard was it for you looking back in retrospect? Right? We're not going to tell all your business and tell your age, but we know you're over, and we know your son's over 30. So, looking back in retrospect in your life, how hard was it to balance career and child rearing? A lot of women, they suffer from depression. They really suffer and they struggle with being a mother and trying to have a career. And so many women that I even know, they postpone career completely just to focus on motherhood. So you seem to be someone who you found a balance and now you're out here running the office. So how hard was it in retrospect? And I'll move to the current day in a moment. But how hard was it?
Well, I guess because of the love that I had to be a mother
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure that my child was successful, then I just made sure that most people did not even know I was a single parent because I would work my shifts so that I would select times that I would be available for my child. I was at the basketball games, the baseball games. I was there to the point that his friends, they would come looking for me before they'd go looking for their parents because they knew I was going to be there. I was the kind of mother that his friends would call me on report card day to tell me about their grades because they knew I cared about them as well as I cared about my son because I was always trying to be there to make sure they were all successful. And
So this
even
is Go ahead.
when he went
Sorry.
off to college, they would still call me. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I forgot Terrell was not there. But I'm like, they're just checking on me. So it made me feel good that they cared enough, to check to see how I was doing.
So
Mm-hmm.
in retrospect, the love and your desire to provide a life for yourself, it made it all kind of gravy. It wasn't difficult. You found a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where you were able
Right.
to manage it. It's Mother's Day. So, what advice, in general, would you offer to young mothers as we celebrate Mother's Day on this day?
To always look at yourself and see where you are today and where you want to be tomorrow. I have always, this is my, I guess, words that I would often say to myself, and I would say to my nursing students that I had for the 23 years that I worked. I told them, I said, sometimes the mountain is so high that we're not able to climb that mountain, but we surely can find a way to go around it. And that's what I always went on, trying to find a way to go around that mountain or that big obstacle that was placed before me. Because working at the hospital, when I wanted to get my RN degree, I was an LPN. I asked my nurse manager, I said, could I work Friday 11 to 7, Saturday 11 to 7, and on Sunday 3 to 11? She said, oh no, other girls want to work that shift. I said, okay. I went straight to nursing service, told them I wanted to leave that unit and put me on a float pool that I just went all over the hospital and worked my hours that I needed. So I couldn't move the mountain, but I just found a way to go around it. And I became the chief nursing officer at that hospital later on in my career. Yes.
And I understand that you have not stopped achieving. I know that you're retired from nursing, but now you are running for political office. And I also understand that you won the Democratic primary for state representative last year, and you're running for alderman. What
Yes.
keeps you going? Now your son is grown. Now you have grandchildren. Now you've had all these degrees, all these accolades. What keeps you inspired?
The future, looking, like I said, it's never been about me.
Okay.
It's about what can I do to look out for others that are coming behind me. How can I help to make our lives better? And when I search out and look at things, it's like nobody's working on this. Nobody's trying to help with this. Or if they're doing it, what can I do to help them to make it better? And so that keeps me wanting to get out there. Now, the president of the Democratic Federation of Women here in DeSoto and Marshall County in Mississippi, and trying to just inspire and work hard and help with our community. I just love working, and I guess I'm just a servant leader.
As we come to a close, I know June 8th, that is your upcoming election, right?
Right. And it's
Alderman,
gonna,
Ward,
Alderman, Ward
Ward
2.
2. Can you just tell us two things that would happen for your community if you were elected in this position?
One of the things that I would do is to add some form of community center or some facility that provided activities for our children. Had it not been for like the boys club and the baseball games and things like that, I don't believe my child would be as well rounded as he
Mm-hmm.
is. And with the COVID that we have, and children now, they're always on the cell phone playing games. Our interpersonal skills need to be enhanced. They need to be able to, just like for my child, he can go from one part of Memphis to the next part, and then from Mississippi, wherever, because I exposed him to all of that. And our children need to be exposed. And as I have grandkids, I want them to have some interactions with other people and not just on TikTok or playing Minecraft games.
Yes, that's one,
Yeah.
a community center to bring the children together and the families
Mhm.
together. And I 100%
Right.
with that because we spend so much time, so much screen time. We're spending like 6.5 hours a day behind screens, from what I'm probably more than that,
Exactly.
a minimum. So really getting us together. And then what's one more thing that you got for us?
I am the president of my HOA where I live in my neighborhood. And the value of our homes is so, so important to me that when you start looking at, are people keeping up their
Mm-hmm.
houses so that your value doesn't go down? Community and making sure that whatever funding that we may get as an alderman, that I could keep the streets paved, add back into the beautification of the city, and making sure that we have safety provided, neighborhood watches, and that everybody has a good living here within the Olive Branch community.
Well, I'll tell you this, with your track record for making things happen, for beating the odds, for creating an amazing life for yourself, for your child, and for your grandchildren. I believe that you're somebody that we can all put our vote of confidence in. And I wish you the very best of success. If I were in Mississippi, I would definitely be there with my flag and I'd be voting for you. May God be with you. And just want to thank you for making some time today with this Mother's Day celebration to share some pearls of wisdom and some inspiration to the next generation of women. May God be with you, Lady Diane, Lady Theresa Diane, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me, and
You're
you
welcome.
have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend.
Thank you. You too.